It is time. You're gonna see a little pink bit. You get to the outer edge and then pull. It's even pretending to fruit. Hello, welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather.
I'm Levi.
And you don't see him just a ton on videos. He works during the week. And also, I was just thinking about it. I got used to doing a lot of stuff by myself when he was in the military and he was deployed. There are definitely things that I do need help with, and goat castration is one of them. Hi Teddy, good morning. So I have my little camera here to try to give you the first person perspective of catching a wild goat that does not want to be caught. Okay. I took the opportunity. Well, that went easier than I expected. He's like, what's wrong with you? I know, buddy. I don't know. All right. Thanks, honey.
Welcome.
Oh, he's such a big boy. There goes my camera. There you go. I'm sorry, dude. Little Gollum is a freezer goat, and ideally I'd like to keep him with his mama. I was looking for her. She's probably out here eating hay. But I'd like to keep him with his mama the entire time that he's growing. I'd love for him to get the maximum amount of milk that he can within reason. We're coming up at a time when I am going to have to dry off a few of my goats that I'm currently milking so that they can have the last couple months of their pregnancy without the burden of also being milked. So I may pull him from her for a few weeks to a month. I may decide not to, but if I'm going to be keeping him with her, I can't run the risk of him breeding any of our other does. So we do not have to worry about that any longer. He's going to be mildly uncomfortable for the next day or so, but he's gonna be just fine. And it's for the better. You get to stay with the herd, sir. Hello, it is Monday and I'm actually kind of late getting out to milk. I've been on kind of an afternoon milking schedule, so really around like 2 or 3, and I'm very late today. It's almost 4 o'clock actually, but I'm not worried about it because the goats that have like really the need to be emptied right now, they've got their babies on them, and the other ones I'm getting ready to dry off soon anyway, so been a little bit lazy with it, but I do need to get out there. I want to make some mozzarella cheese because I want pizza for dinner. Are you boys enjoying the lovely green grass out there today? You look so handsome in this lighting. I mean, you look handsome anyway. Let's be real. All right, it is time. It is the only broccoli head we have so far. I'm very proud of it. All of the other ones are definitely on the way. They're all about the same size. They all look, you know, about that big. See, here's an example. They're all about this size. So we'll be having a larger harvest of multiple heads of broccoli pretty soon, but today we just have the one. I'm proud of her. You can actually see along the edge here where the little yellow flowers started to open up. So I let it go as long as I could, but needed to harvest it today. That beauty. So I've got the milk that I just milked, fresh milk from today, and I've got milk from yesterday that we're going to be making into the mozzarella cheese for tonight. I do have a dedicated video on this mozzarella cheese, but we're gonna go through the process today too. So the recipe that I originally got was from Jess at Roots and Refuge Farm, and it does use the microwave in order to kind of help stretch the cheese, and so I am going to be doing that today. It's the best way that I've found to have success with mozzarella cheese. I have tried heating up the whey and stretching it within the warm whey. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I cannot make it work. Thankfully, the microwave does work. I need 2 1/4 teaspoons of citric acid, and at the moment, I'm heating the milk up to 90 degrees. It's not gonna take very long, but it's gonna take longer than it would if I had just used fresh milk. Milk comes out of the goat at 103 degrees, but I had some milk from the fridge too, so it's gonna take just a little bit. This little bottle has rennet in it, and rennet is a coagulating agent. Put a little bit too much in there. Should be okay. A lot of times you want to try to avoid overdoing the rennet because it can make your curd just a little bit too tough. Okay, right now the thermometer says 88 degrees, and I'm just gonna shut off the stove at this point. The residual heat from the pot plus the stove is going to increase the temp by those 2 degrees, and it already has. So what I'm gonna do is actually move this off of the burner and then add in our rennet and water mixture. It's best if you can distribute the rennet within the milk pretty quickly. Get it stirred in because it's going to start coagulating the milk fast, and you want it to be even, the distribution of rennet, so that your curds will thicken up evenly. So now that everything is well incorporated, you can see we're starting to thicken up already. I'm just gonna put the lid on this and let it sit for about 5 minutes, but it may need a little bit longer in order to get a nice set. Farm fresh broccoli is really, really tender on all parts. And I know that a lot of people don't like the broccoli stem, but truthfully, if you've only had your broccoli stems like from the grocery store, you might try them if you get the chance to either grow your own or buy farm fresh. They're so good. So I'm chopping up every last bit to put on our pizzas, and none of this is woody whatsoever, even though it was just a couple of days away from flowering, like fully flowering. All right, if we come back over here to our cheese, we do have a fully set, basically single mass of curd in the middle here, and I want to cut this up. Now, I'm pretty sure in the original recipe, Jess has you heat up the curd to like 110 or something like that. I had actually forgotten that that was part of the process the last few times that I've made mozzarella, and it's turned out great, so I'm gonna skip it again tonight. Yeah, you might as well just come home. I'm making pizza, and the pizza dough has proofed a lot, so I have to get it in the oven pretty quickly, and I don't, you know, I want you to have it fresh.
Okay, I'll head straight home then.
Okay. Love you too. Bye. So there is still quite a bit of whey in these curds, and that's going to be normal. We're just going to heat it up in the microwave 1 minute increments and eventually stretch and squeeze most of the whey out. We don't want it to be completely dry because mozzarella is nice when it has a little bit of moisture. It is going to be okay to laugh at my completely overproofed pizza dough. Look at this. Oh my goodness. It is a little bit dark in my kitchen this evening, but truthfully, this is how I cook most of the time. I just have the cabinet lights on, and it's enough for me to see, and I really like it. So hopefully it's not too dark for you. I don't think so. I can see myself right there. So here's our mozzarella so far. It is not holding together right now. It's pretty crumbly, so it's gonna take a few zaps, but we're getting there. They're giggling at my pizza dough. Is it that funny? Okay, so it's got an okay stretch right now. I can feel that it does need maybe just one more time in the microwave because it's not as smooth as it normally is. It's working up. We're almost there. It might not even need a full minute. Yeah, scratch that. I decided against it. As I'm working with it with my hands, it is getting that nice elasticity that we all know and love from mozzarella. So I'm just gonna salt it at this point. So usually I will salt my cheese about a teaspoon of salt when I do it 1.5 gallons of milk. I've just sprinkled it over the top. So we are gonna see little pink bits in here. That's okay. I like to try to work the salt in without having to reheat it, but it might be necessary to reheat this particular batch just to get everything well incorporated. It's hot. That's why you saw me working it with the spatula earlier. Sometimes it's easier to roll it around in the bowl with a spatula until it's cool enough to handle. Oof, hot, hot. Now, the goal with the pizza really is to slice this cheese or to grate the cheese so that it's easy to spread out among the pizzas. You can put fresh mozzarella in nice big globs on pizza, and we may do that. I usually don't. Usually I've had this made already and we can just grate it up and put it on the pizza. What I'm gonna do to try to cool this down more quickly is just put it in some cool water. Might overflow it. Ooh, nope. We'll just let that sit in there for a little bit and cool down. Okay, so while the cheese is cooling down, we can start working with this hilariously overproofed dough. It got quite fluffy while I was waiting. I actually get this recipe from Rachel from that 1870s Homestead. We've made this quite a few times and it is so good. It's a nice fluffy pizza dough. Got my oven preheating to 425. I couldn't remember. It's been a little while since I've made pizza. Couldn't remember what temp, but I know when we've purchased frozen pizzas in the past, that's what they cook at. Oh, you know what I was gonna do? I was gonna put bacon on these and I think I still will. Bacon actually dices up best when it's still frozen, so this works out. This is bacon from our Cooney pigs that we had butchered a year ago. We have one more year before we are going to put more bacon in the freezer, so we're trying to use this sparingly and kind of spread it out. Okay, so the camera overheated, but we do have our bacon. That's what we've got. Seems like it's gonna cooperate. It seems like it's crumbling apart versus shredding. When it is fully cooled, it shreds quite nicely. But you know, mozzarella crumbles will probably spread out on a pizza just fine. All right, so I will relent and turn on the kitchen light and show you exactly what I'm doing. So I have this sauce that I made earlier in the year. Maybe it was even last year. Oof, 2 years ago, that I labeled as barbecue sauce, and it's a lot more like a tomato sauce and less like a barbecue sauce. I'm gonna use this tonight as my pizza sauce. So how do you guys build your pizza? Do you do cheese first and then toppings, or toppings and then cheese? I tend to do a little bit of both, kind of sandwich my toppings in between the layers of cheese. And for a little bit of herby touch, I have a ton of oregano that we have grown. My oregano plant has started to take over one of the little garden areas, but that's okay. We use it quite a lot. Here we go. I'm gonna make 2 of these for dinner tonight.
It just needs a story.
Oh. That felt dangerous. The kids are washing their hands, but I wanted to note that I'm pretty sure now I'm remembering that this was a double recipe for the crust. This is exceptionally fluffy, but I also did overproof it. It was, yeah, because it's been kind of warm in our house lately. The air hasn't been coming on because it's been nice outside, but that means it gets a little bit stuffy in here. So look at the bottom there, if you can see it. Cooked nicely. I love our stoneware pans.
At first I thought you were making bread.
I basically did make bread.
It's very bready crust.
Hello, today is Tuesday. Levi's home today. We go to the chiropractor every so often and he gets to stay home from work that day. Today I'm working on some rabbit skins that I think these must have been rabbits either from early spring or last year sometime. I have these skins in the freezer and then I recently, well, not even recently, okay, I pulled them out a while ago and salted them. And they've just been sitting outside under cover, salted for the longest time. And it's time that I flesh them. So that's what I'm doing today. You can see that some of the flesh just kind of automatically is separating from the hide. So this is going to be my starting point. I had started a hide processing video when I pulled these out of the freezer, and then I accidentally deleted the footage. So I don't have a full hide tanning start to finish how-to video. Actually, I'm still kind of learning myself. And so I'll show you at least this part of the process, at least what I'm working on today. I have 3 rabbit hides and a goat hide, and I'm not gonna get them all done today, but so far this is what I'm working on. Now the flesh doesn't always come off nicely with your fingers like this. I'm getting a little bit spoiled today. But can you see how nice and white that is underneath? I want to get all this junk off of the outside, this like, I don't know, fleshy bit. This here is one of my hive tools for beekeeping, and this makes a really great fleshing tool. Yep. This is when you get to the outer edge, the skin gets a lot thinner. You can get some holes like that. Trying to work around this hole and not make it bigger, but I'm not doing very good at it. Buster, go away. No. Okay, I went ahead and wet it again because sometimes that can make things a little bit easier. You can see I'm having a hard time with this particular section, and honestly there's so much good up here. I could just cut that part off and forget about it. At this point I probably will, because along the edge here it's really thin anyway, and I'm not sure how much I can really salvage out of this end. I can't remember how old these rabbits were when they were butchered, but I hear that the older the rabbit, the easier this process is. Good morning, it's Thursday. Yesterday we had some company stop by, and so I kind of had to stop my project midway, but I did just finish up the last 2 rabbit hides that I had, and I wanted to go through like the rest of the process with you. So we've got this one successfully fleshed, and right now I'm just washing the hide. It kind of smells like a rabbit at this point. It would be nice if it sort of didn't. Not that rabbits are stinky or anything, but I am going to wash the hide with some Dawn dish soap. Get any like last little bits of processing and things out of the fur, any kind of dirt or debris. Just make it as nice as possible. This does not have to get completely dry at this point. I just don't want it dripping wet. So, on to the next step. Alright, so here are the 2 hides from today. This bunny was lighter than this one, but these are not white furs, which makes me so excited to be able to work with. Okay, so this is the tanning solution that we've been using. I've tried this before today and it does work very well. The bottle does say to heat the tanning solution up a little bit just by setting it in some warm water. I never have, and so far it's been okay. It's tanned quite well. I'm just gonna lay this out first side down and massage some of this tanning solution in. I have tried tanning methods in the past that have used eggs. I've never tried a brain tan, but I have done the egg tan before. And while like the leather part of the skins was fine, the hair fell out. And I was reading that if you wanted to keep the hair in the hide, because that's not always the goal, but if that is the goal for you like it is for us, you either want to do some kind of alum soaking solution or something like this to help keep those hairs in the hide. Obviously, I've mentioned this before, I'm not a professional. If any of you who have done this have other tips and tricks, I'm sure that people will be more than willing to hear them if you want to put them in the comments. So I'm just trying to put a nice liberal layer on all of the parts and pieces. I do still have the little inside out turned arms of the rabbit, and I am tanning these along with everything else. Eventually these do get cut off and the little holes where the arms were are sewn up, and same thing with these little holes that happened during the fleshing process. Those will get closed up too. And then we fold the skin over on itself. We really want the solution to be soaking in and doing what it needs to do over the next 12 to 18 hours, and allowing it to not dry out before it has a chance to soak in is why we fold it over on itself like that. So after that, about 12 to 18 hours of sitting folded in half and allowing the solution to soak in, we get to unfold it and let it dry out. And so we still have quite a damp fur situation, but all of the solution has soaked in well on this side. And as the hide is drying out, I am going to come through periodically every 6 hours or so, kind of tug on the hide to try to break some of the fibers. This is how we get the hide to soften up. Now it might be a little bit hard to see, and I've already come through and done this, but when you are breaking the hide successfully, you can see the yellow part of the hide start to turn white. I don't know if that's coming through on camera, but that's what we're looking for. We want it to all be nice and white and soft. So this here is the end goal that I have for the furs from our farm right now. This is all I'm doing. I'm just making pom-poms to go on hats, and at the moment I think there's 2 hats with rabbit fur pom-poms left on the website. And I just think it's really fun. It's a nice way to use up some of the hides that we have here, and a nice way to be able to provide pieces of our farm to the community. I do have another project that I'm working on today that involves the goats. Our most recent goat vlog, I talked about how I wanted to send in some samples out of Margie to get them tested for their Hercacean content, or genetically what Hercacean output should be. Now, this isn't a test where you send in a milk sample. Actually, you can get bucks tested to see what kind of daughters they should have, or at least what the milk quality should be like out of the daughters that they have. And the casein genes, I'll put kind of a description or like a crash course on what this is, but the casein content, there's a couple different genes that they can carry, and some of them are more linked to high casein content or like better cheese quality than others. And so that's something I'm very interested in maintaining in my herd, because I love making things out of our goat's milk, and if I can keep back animals that have that great quality, we're well on our way to our goals. So Miss Elsa here is one of the goats that I am going to test. I do plan to keep anything that she has this year. She's bred to our blue cactus Nefarious. Nefarious is a star bee buck, so I know at least with butterfat and volume, his dam Lily is well known for being a great producer. Now I kind of want to see what Elsa is like as far as casein, to see what kind of a buckling or doeling we could get out of her. Now all this is the hair sample, and I've done this before. I ran a sample for GWP Homestead. They bought a buck from us, and the ADGA has a requirement as of this year that all bucks need to be DNA typed before their progeny can be registered. So I went ahead and pulled some of his hair and put that sample in, and everything went fine. So now I'm confident in teaching it. It's very, very simple. We just need to make sure that we have clean pliers, that the goat doesn't have anybody else's hair really on her, and I just need to pull out 30 hairs by the roots. Now, you don't want to be keeping the hairs in a plastic bag. I'm just doing this temporarily because our ground is really wet and it's a very windy day today. If these happen to get away from me, they're not going to be ruined by falling into some mud. So there's a couple places where you can pull hair, and the place that I pulled hair out of Farrell this morning was right back here, because Farrell is another one that I'm testing. So I'm just going to grab as close to the skin as possible without pinching her, and then pull. We want to make sure that we're getting some of the root bulbs, because that's where they're going to be getting the DNA from. I'm going to do a couple of these. She's going to be mad at me. I know, I'm sorry. That was not nice, was it? It's going to be hard to see, but I'm looking for at least 30 root bulbs. All right, so I'm going to do Elsa, Clover, and Margie, and I already collected from Farrell. Margie didn't care. She's got food in her face, and that's all she cares about. Clover! Good girl. These girls know their names. Yes, and you know how this works. Atta girl. I know. Elsa wasn't a huge fan either. Okay, now I've got all my samples. As I mentioned, I'm not going to leave these in the plastic bags. Apparently, there could be a development of condensation over time that could ruin the DNA. So I'm going to be transferring them into paper envelopes before we send it off. So as soon as I turn the camera on, the wind kind of calmed down, but it'll be back. It's another blustery, just miserably cloudy cold day. Our cold weather always comes in with lots of wind, and same thing with the warm weather, so it's just par for the course. Yes, it's the Monty show today. And Mozzie, let's go to the greenhouse. Ooh. Wow, something I haven't seen in here yet since I put in these yellow balls. These yellow balls right here is birds. The birds are taking refuge in here. I don't really blame them. The peppers sure look a little bit wind beaten. All the brassicas look fine though. Sorry, kitty. I definitely have some repair work to do on the greenhouse. There's quite a few spots that look like that. It's not a today project. At the moment, I'm just trying to spare the plants from the crazy winds. The winds today are mainly coming from the north and the west. This time of year, those are the common directions for the wind. I think because the sun still may peek out today and I don't want everything to cook in here, I am gonna leave this east side open. It's pretty rare for the wind to blow in from the east. And if it did, it wouldn't be really detrimental to the greenhouse at all. The winds are kind of crazy today, but this greenhouse has been through way worse. It is time for me to water in here tomorrow. Are you out of hay, my love? What a tragedy. Yeah, let me fix that. See, there's the sun. Okay, I do have an inside project that we're going to be working on today, but I wanted to give you a little bit of an update on the skins from yesterday so you can see how well they've really soaked up the tanning solution. They really have. And this is the point where I'm going to let them slowly dry out and start stretching them to soften them up. It's a very easy process. I think the hardest part of the process is learning how to flesh cleanly, and clearly I'm not an expert at it, but I'm trying. Practice makes perfect. This kind of thing you're never going to get perfect on your first, second, third, fourth, even fifth try. So what I'm gonna do is just lay them for now skin side up here in my kitchen, and then as they dry I will probably flip them skin side down like this one, first side up, so that the fur can start to fluff up a little bit and the drying process can go a little bit slower. But look how this one's turning out. This is the first one that we processed when I had company show up, and it's almost done. It's almost dry. It's nice and soft. Just every 4 or so hours I've been coming through, and some of the darker spots like by the arm here, I've just been stretching out with my hand like this, being careful because you can still rip it for sure at this point, but it's a lot more tough than it was before, but also really soft at the same time. I have been taking one of these pet brushes, going along and brushing the hair as it dries to help fluff it up. Whoops, of course dropping things because that's what I do, but these are turning out really nicely. Some of you may know what you're looking at, a lot of you may not, but during the busy parts of the summer I did take a break from growing mushrooms. Consequently, so did my mushroom guy, but he is slowly getting back into it, and so I have procured 5 bags of oyster mushrooms. The ones that look a little bit pink are pink oyster mushrooms, and then these ones are all pearl oyster mushrooms. Mushrooms are actually incredibly easy to grow, especially of the oyster variety. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to set this up. They do need to soak for about 3 hours in some water. I'll make a cut in the bag and put it cut side down. You see in there all the mycelium, and it's even pretending to fruit, so this won't be long before we get mushrooms out of this. There we go. And after about 3 hours of soaking, I can put them cut side up on the racks in my little mushroom tent over here and just let them grow. It's not going to be very long before we see mushrooms, like I said, because these guys are primed and ready to go. And actually I can harvest mushrooms. I can grow and harvest mushrooms out of these same blocks for 3 to 5 cycles. I just cut a different hole on a different side of the bag and repeat this process and get a lot of homegrown mushrooms. Just like with everything else, I do have more comprehensive videos that I will either link in the description box or put up here. This is my mushroom playlist. But of course, in subsequent vlogs, you'll get to see how these grow. I'll see you guys again soon.